D5000 gets reviewed, plus holiday gift guide since the holiday shopping season's in full effect. And we're talking ChromeOS with some guys who've taken a look at it, Marco Chiappetta and Dave Altavilla. Times are tough, so save time and money by skipping business trips and using GoToMeeting. Visit gotomeeting.com/techpodcast and get 30 days for free. Just like we do every week, we're talking with the guys from HotHardware.com, which covers a lot of computer enthusiast stuff, so they take a look at it at the hardcore level. And this week we're talking about a pretty hardcore camera. It's Nikon's latest, the D5000. This is a pretty high-end thing, Marco, right?
Yeah, it's not one of their super top-of-the-line, ultra-expensive cameras, but it's a really nice DSLR, 12.3 megapixels, great little camera.
So, you know, it has some pretty interesting features too, though, right? Like, this isn't just, it actually shoots video too, correct?
Yeah, it's got some really cool features, actually. It's got an articulating screen, which is nice. It allows you to shoot from weird angles. It also shoots 720p HD video, which is really great to have in a, a high-quality DSLR. You know, and the street price is only, between $600 and $700. It's not bad considering how high-end the camera is.
Interesting stuff. So $600 or $700 to get all that stuff. Is there anything bad about it that you guys really found, or is it, it's pretty much a Nikon camera that we kind of expect?
Right, like there's nothing particularly bad. People who use DSLRs typically like a certain type of menu system or grip feel. If you like Nikon, you'll like this camera. Got it. We're also talking about some holiday stuff since, we're all getting over our turkey hangovers from last week. Dave, you guys are doing a really in-depth holiday gift guide, and you got a bunch of different sections. We're going to talk about a couple of them. On the list, we're talking processors. And you guys cover a lot of processors, and so rounding up the year's got to be a little bit difficult. What's sort of #1 on the list this year?
Sure, yeah. In terms of processors from the gift guide, and we certainly cover all major system components as well as other things like notebooks and cameras and gadgets. But just covering some of the highlights, our picks for processors this year. In the low end, AMD kind of squeaks in with some pretty aggressively priced offerings. And then as we get into the $200 price range, we have to tip our hand and hats to the folks at Intel, of course.
So with these processors, what's the real, the difference? I mean, the price obviously is sort of, the factor that people are looking at the most with these. But what's sort of the difference in performance? I mean, if you look at that $99 one versus the $183 one, is there, a gigantic difference? Or, I mean, how when people look at these, what should they sort of be trying to figure out?
Sure, good questions. And for sure, there are significant differences in performance, but it really depends on your usage model. I mean, let's face it, not everybody needs a high-end, super over-the-top quad-core processor. If you're doing everyday workloads like, business applications, a dual-core is probably going to suit you fine, or maybe a low-end quad-core, lower power chip.
So which out of those ones, I mean, for the the budget consumer, which one's sort of the one you'd recommend?
I'd recommend probably something in the order of an AMD Athlon X4, 620 or 600 series for $99, or a Core 2 quad from Intel for 180 or so in that area.
Awesome.
On the higher end of the spectrum, Intel's Core i5 and i7 line is where it's at, and we picked a couple, the Core i7 860 and the Core i5 750.
And those are for the people who really want good performance. I think maybe one of those might be my feature. Awesome stuff. So I guess that goes all the way up to $1,000 according to the gift guide. They're just pretty nuts for just one piece of silicon, or I guess a couple pieces of silicon, but regardless.
Yeah, Intel will take your money at any price point.
Yeah, exactly. So the other stuff we're looking at, video cards, also a hot topic this year. What are some of the video cards you guys have kind of picked out among, maybe the budget favorite and then the higher end favorites?
Sure. Actually, we talked a little bit about our budget favorite last episode, but and it's funny. We've sort of divided the low end and the high end product offerings between the two camps again, and this time it's NVIDIA at the low end in terms of bang for your buck, and the folks at AMD ATI with their Radeon graphics series in the higher end. And so for the low end pick, would recommend the NVIDIA GeForce GT240. It's about a $100 graphics card, 96 stream processors, gives you just about, perfectly smooth gameplay at 20-inch or 22-inch panels on down.
Well, and Marco, last week, we talked about those two, or I guess it was, whenever it was, the last episode, we talked about a couple different cards, and you actually had that gigantic foot-long card, and I don't think that, did that make the list? I'm not seeing it. Oh, there it is at the bottom. When,
right.
I mean, you had that thing in your hands, obviously you probably use it in your computers. I mean, how crazy does someone have to be to really go for that one?
For me, I don't think you have to be crazy at all. If you're an enthusiast and you're running multiple screens, or you have a high-res screen, or you want to run the latest games with all the image quality turned up, you want the smoothest frame rates. And when the Voodoo 2 came out, I dropped $600 to buy 2 of them. So I know there's people that would love to buy one of these for $500.
It's awesome. So that's sort of the highest end is HTI, sort of ruling the roost there. Others.
$59.70. Yep.
Yeah, it's just $600, man. It's cheaper than that. Hey, it's cheaper than that i7 though. So go figure. The last thing we're going to talk about in this is netbooks and notebooks, and obviously notebooks at the low end. They're sort of the stocking stuffer, which actually they could fit in your stocking, item this year. But then at the other end, of course, there's some no doubt ridiculously expensive, awesome HD gaming laptops. Dave, what's kind of your picks for these ones?
Sure. In the lower end or netbook side of things, or thin and light, ultralight, we like ASUS products right now. Certainly the EPC line is a great value. The other product that they have that's real nice that we talked a little bit about last episode was their CULV, or Consumer Ultra Low Voltage Intel-based notebook, the UL80VT.
So that's sort of to me, I've been looking for, a lot of people come to me and say, what notebook should I get? What's sort of the best one? That's, a little bit of performance, a little bit of portability, sort of the jack of all trades. That ASUS one's sort of the one you're thinking?
Yeah, if you're looking to, jet set around and you do a lot of travel, and this thing is thin and light. It's got a near full-size keyboard, very comfortable, much more spacious than a netbook, and but good battery life and good portability. On the real high end of the spectrum, you've got things like Alienware's M17X gaming notebook. I mean, this thing is a beast. You've got rated hard drives in this thing. If you want, you can pick dual GPUs in SLI or Crossfire. This notebook, just rocks in terms of.
It looks like it's going to eat your face. Like, it's a scary notebook.
Yeah, it's built like a muscle car. It's kind of got that sort of styling to it. Big old grill in the front, and it is. It's not for tripping through airports, but it'll. It's a desktop replacement machine, and you'll be able to game just about anything you want on it.
And the last one's actually a dual screen thing, right? It's from Lenovo. It's the ThinkPad W700DS. It has 2 screens. Tell us about that one.
Yeah, it comes with a Wacom tablet too, or you can get it. Some of the options are a digitizer tablet. So here you're really looking at a mobile workstation. You've got a 17-inch primary display with a side display that pops out.
Pretty crazy stuff, man.
Nice setup.
The dual screen notebook. I never thought I'd see today. Lastly, we're going to talk about ChromeOS for a second, and ChromeOS is Google's netbook operating system, I guess some would call it. It's a Linux distribution. It's stripped down a ton so that essentially it's just a browser, and even the interaction with the operating system feels a lot like a browser. You guys had a chance to check out some of this stuff. Marco, tell us about your experiences with ChromeOS.
Yeah, our man Joel checked it out and put up his impressions up on the site. So it's basically what you said, a really pared-down Linux distro. But Google's goal is to design a really slim OS that's internet-centric. So you turn the machine on, you log in, it launches a browser, you're online.
Got it. So did you guys tend to like it, or you feel like it's not totally baked, or what was kind of the general impression?
Well, it's really too early to even give an impression because the UI is not done. It's not even beta. It's just been open sourced. General impression is it's going to be pretty cool for somebody who's on the go and has a netbook or a low-end machine. But there's a lot of questions that remain unanswered. How's it going to handle different hardware? Is there going to be hardware acceleration for the GPU? But there's potential there to just have all your apps and data in the cloud, and you can just log in from any ChromeOS-based PC. It's kind of an interesting concept.
Definitely, it'll be cool to see where that ends up going. Guys, we're going to leave the show there. Marco Chiappetta, who's managing editor for HotHardware, thanks for coming on the program. Also, Dave Altavilla, who's the editor-in-chief over there. Thanks for coming on the show as well. I'm Randall Bennett, and don't forget, you can catch us on iTunes. We're on YouTube. We're over to HotHardware.com. We're over at TechV.com. We're basically all over the internet, so if you don't find us, it's just kind of your fault. So, no, we'll see you later.